Russia has initiated a counter-offensive in the KSKK region just over a month after the rapid Ukrainian advance there. The full scale and potential outcome of this new operation, they're still unfolding, but reports indicate that counterattacks have begun along the western edge of the Ukrainian salient, with Russian troops making moves from several directions: the north, the northeast and the west. Withhold in response, Ukrainian forces have launched fresh assaults west of Snag, aiming to counter the Russian push. But for the latest update, let's go across to strategic affairs expert Brahma Chellaney. Thank you so much, sir, as always, for making time for us. Now, just to understand what's unfolding currently, Ukrainian forces had tried to make Russia nervous with their moves to scurry to send troops from one area to another and to stop their offensive in key areas. But with this latest reported move, you think Ukraine has been caught stumped, while the course incursion into Russian territory has failed to stem Russia's territorial advances in eastern Ukraine. Russia already occupies 1/5 of Ukraine. The KSK incursion was a great publicity stunt on the part of President Zelensky, but it failed to make any strategic or military headway. In fact, this incursion came after Ukraine's failed counter-offensive of last year. So since last year, it's becoming increasingly clearer that Ukraine's war strategy is floundering, and now there is apparent Ukraine fatigue in the West. As the fatigue begins to set in, Ukraine is coming under subtle Western pressure. The Western rhetoric is still that we will stand with Ukraine, but quietly Western officials are beginning to press Zelensky to revise his war strategy and adopt more realistic war aims and objectives. While Russian forces are making steady gains in eastern Ukraine, and analysts have been questioning the effectiveness of deployment keys limited resources in order to actually capture Russian territory, as you've been highlighting, Mr. Chellaney. But as per the latest reports that have emerged, also more than $30 million worth of aircraft tires made by Western manufacturers were imported into Russia last year via intermediaries, despite attempts to ban the trade. This is what a Ukrainian government agency has said on record, and as per the latest records that are available, the custom records, we can see that the vast majority of aircraft equipment were imported into Russia. They were produced by companies that are headquartered in France, Britain, the United States and Japan. Sir, how do you think this is likely to impact the current state of affairs? The unprecedented Western sanctions against Russia were aimed primarily to cause the economic collapse of Russia and to force it to withdraw from the areas that has occupied in Ukraine. Both those objectives have failed, because Russia has actually transited to a war economy. It has managed to ramp up its industrial capacity to manufacture armaments and critical munitions, and in terms of its territorial gain in Ukraine, it has consolidated those gains since it began its invasion in February 2022. So today, the Western strategy, while seeking to tighten any possible loopholes in the sanctions that they have imposed against Russia, they're at the same time, especially the Europeans, continuing to import critical materials from Russia. This is the irony of it. On one side, they're trying to close any loopholes in their sanctions campaign against Russia. On the other hand, they're relying on Russia for critical things, including the Europeans are relying on Russia for our gas. Our gas imports from Russia into Europe have actually increased to such an extent that they have now overtaken gas imports from us to Europe. So that goes to show how the Western camp has created holes in its own sanction strategy, because they need our materials from Russia, right, that they cannot do without. Well,